For everyone, for joining this session. My name is Raj Sudamalla, and I'm Chief IT Architect for iKapture product. I have a total of 25 years of experience working both at customer locations as well as for the product development and the services. I definitely saw the both sides of the coin, and this gives me a kind of immense pleasure to have the host this particular session, a turbocharge your AP automation with an iCapture. So where we can talk about the iCapture product and what all the challenges we have it without AP automation, and also we'll talk about the real world scenarios. Thank you for everyone for joining this particular session. Let's quickly dive into the iCapture, the agenda of this particular topic. So this is the agenda, what we are going to cover it up in the next few 45 minutes or so. So what we would like to talk about is why account payable automation is a must. Why it is really needed. We'll talk about that, and also in the recent trends, we've been hearing about a lot of AI, ML, NLPs, Gen AI, and all those things. How these kind of new technologies that were actually coming revolutionized the document processing, right? So let's talk about that, and then we'll introduce our iCapture, the completely homegrown product, and also its capabilities, and talk about the benefits and ROIs using this iCapture product. And we have definitely used a lot of that AI revolutionized products and everything whatever that we have it here. And the last but not the least, we'll talk about the real world scenarios. And I will leave it some of the questions for Q&A. And I have with me Satish Pelluru, who actually our product owner also joined. So please feel free to join and ask any kind of questions you may have it while this session is going on, and we'll try to address it as much as we can while it's actually being live. Thank you. So now let's talk why the digitization is going to be very, very important, right? One of the key things what we have seen that from our research and also from our experience, we saw that from the study that whatever that we have it, at least 1.8 hours per day for each and every resource without digitizing the documents. They need to spend time on finding that particular document, searching it, and trying to find it and all those things. So if you're trying to look at it, that's equivalent to 9 hours per week, and that's almost equal to 40 hours per month. So if you have 5 resources, the real one is only 4 resources are really working. So that's where the digitizing the documents is going to be very, very important. And the next important thing is compliance, right? Because we are dealing with the finance is nothing but and also we are dealing with the money and money. So we need to know that who has done, when they have done, what they have done. So that's where we have to have all the records, and maintaining that without digitization, that's actually a nightmare. We went through that with a lot of other companies, and which we have encouraged them to get into the digitization. So the other one is document storage, right? The document storage, and the document storage normally from all the any complaints purpose, for IRS or means anything, they actually recommend to store at least 7 years of data. So when you are actually trying to store that 7 years of data, look at that, how many invoices that you have it, and how many documents you need to store it, and how much of space that you need, and and trying to see that how you are actually able to get that particular data across all the different shelves whenever these needed and all those things, right? So that becomes a nightmare again. So losing to competition, this is very important. If you use the digitizing the documents, your turnout time is going to be much faster. Like you are actually talking about in minutes, you should be able to get that directly getting into the ERP. Whereas like when you're actually trying to go through this through manually, it may take even 5 days also, because of the pile up of what all the invoices and like documents that whatever that we have. So the most important thing, accessibility of documents. And you just come back like means if there is an audit that's coming in, right? And just think about that how this particular audit like it's going to be coming in, like means you need to go and try to find certain set of documents, like and need to provide that to the auditor, and that becomes a big nightmare, like for them to go back and check it out and like trying to provide that all the documentation in the big pile of documents, like whatever we have. And the other one is higher error rates. As you know, when you are actually trying to do this one through manually, there is always a chance of trying to make a mistakes. There is always a chance of mistakes, and there is no kind of checking that particular mistake is good. It can directly get onto your accounting system, and you probably will be paying more and more. So that's why this particular documentation, the digitizing documentation is a must. So, and now let's talk about AI, right? Like like we'll talk about the numbers here, like which is really some kind of a mind-boggling, like even though we have so much of new processes, like which you have so many softwares, with the current data and research, we found out that there are 80% of the people or companies still uses a manual key entry into the accounting system. And that is really mind-boggling, right? So because you have so many companies coming up, so many new technologies coming up, that is a lot more. But good news is there are almost like 52% of the companies and AP departments, the top priority is to move it to this particular AP automation. So that leaves a lot of demand, and also like the need of the AP team to have this particular AP automation. So hopefully that number will be reduced, and we can use a lot of this AP automation softwares which we can leverage it. So now while we are actually trying to process it, earlier we used to just to do the account payable, means from the extraction of the data through OCR technologies and all those things. That's been there for quite some time. But now the AI came into the picture, right? How does AI is revolutionizing the document processing? The first one, we'll talk about the interpret the text using natural language processing. So it does not just exactly get it from the document as is. For example, you have a contracts, right? When you have a contracts, which is multiple pages and all those things, and in that you have a contract end date, contract start date, or this is going to be applicable to some kind of set of rules and all those things. You can always get that using your NLP technologies. That's where AI come into the picture. And using your natural language processing, you can extract that particular metadata from the contracts and should be able to provide that kind of useful information on a very faster pace now with all the new things that are coming up. And the other most important thing is when the documents are coming from the different suppliers and vendors, and now it's all global, right? There are different languages and also different sets of documents that are coming in. Some of them they just some invoice. Some of them they send the invoices along with that, they send the packaging slips, delivery notes, and all kind of documents. So it's important for us to categorize that particular documents, right? So those are all things come again through AI. The most important thing is now we have all the data, because if you are actually using the AP automation, so you have all the data, it means what kind of an amounts and what kind of documents, whatever that we have it. So that's where we actually go, and because we have the data, we can apply these AI/ML technologies and apply the models associated to that and trying to find a kind of a fraud, the fraud in that particular invoices that are coming in. So by analyzing this particular patterns, by analyzing this particular anomalies that we have, whatever that we have found, we can at least go ahead and determine this one will prevent a fraud happening before it gets to your ERP. And that when it gets to the ERP and fraud happens, it's all again too much of nonsense which we need to deal with, right? So that's why this AI is going to be important. The other one is Gen AI. I know that everyone there is a new things like chat GPTs and those things are coming up. This is becoming a day-to-day life activity that is actually coming up, and that is actually be part of this particular AI document processing. The way that we don't need to just ask, what is the status of this particular invoice, or what is the status. You can go ahead and, because of the conversational bot, you can just talk to the bot system, and just as you are actually speaking to me, hey, give me the forecast of the next month of my cash flow, right? And tell me the top 10 suppliers that wherever I can have it, where I can just go ahead and see that segmentation from the perspective which I can try to do that. All those things you can just speak to that through the NLP kind of things. You should be able to get the answers right there, and you can open it up into this particular iKapture solution and analyze the documents in the predictive. So again, this is the predictive insights what we have it. So you as you do have a lot of reports and dashboards, but more than that, because as a CFO, right, you would like to definitely go ahead and see that, hey, what is my cash flow coming up? Means what is my payables, what is my receivables, and what's my cash flow in the next 6 months, and and those kind of predictive things, because you have all the data that's been there and passing it to the model, and you can bring that particular insights directly to your executives, and so that they know that what they should be expecting in the near future. So that's a great thing which we can try to do that. And I know that the OCR technology has been there for quite some time, but eventually most of these particular technologies, the underneath of the technology is the OCR, and then on top of it we actually try to make a good wrappers around that, so that the extraction makes it much more easy, and then where we can try to get all those things to be get that metadata very accurately, and train also the documents good. So now let's talk about our AI/ML extraction overview, right? We talked about the OCR technologies, and we talked about Gen AI, NLPs, and all that stuff. This is how it kind of works, because if you are actually trying to look at it, you can send out an email with the multiple documents, right? And multiple documents in an email, and through our AI/ML technologies, we can separate that one out into the multiple, into separate documents and invoices per se, and all those things, you can definitely separate that one into the multiple you can separate that. And this is very important thing, means from the realistic and use case scenario classification of a document, as a customer, you should be able to go ahead and send, and not telling that I am sending a credit note, I'm sending the invoice, process it accordingly. There has to be a process, there has to be our AI/ML engine, which is need to be recognized that, and should be able to extract that particular data. Hey, this is an invoice, this is a credit note, purchase order, or delivery order, or packaging slip. So those kind of supporting documents also, which we should be able to extract that particular data very, very easily. That's what this classification is going to be very important. And extraction, as I mentioned, through our OCR solution, whatever that we have it, we actually do that particular extraction. Means you can send it in a multiple ways of trying to get it, in the multiple currency, multiple language, and all those things. But using again our OCR technologies, we should be able to extract that data accordingly. And here the last but not the least, the interpretation, right? Because if you look at this one, the February 1st, 2024, and that will be interpreted into the kind of a 01/02/2024 as your global one. Even though you may give this one February 1st, or you can give one 1/2/2024 or 2/1/2024, our system will be able to recognize that and convert that one into a meaningful manner, so that the accounting system or like the end system can able to understand that you can keep this one as a dollar before or after, or USD, and we should be recognizing that one and making it as a standard one. So that's kind of a interpretation is going to be very, very important for us. So now let me introduce, because of all these problem statements, which we are working with the customers as a Sailotech, primarily we were actually a ERP, we used to work with the ERPs and work on the integrations. And this particular problem statement working with a lot of customers where we just trying to provide some integrations. That's where where we got in few years back, why can't we have this particular one? Why the people need to come back here and trying to enter the data manually? So that's where where we have actually came back and developed this particular iKapture solution and make it available for the public to use it. So now let's talk about what exactly the iKapture platform, right? So that is the most important thing before I try to dig into the capabilities and all those things. Without people, without people that are being using this particular platform, that's how the platform started. And basically it can be the account payable users, or it might be your executives, where you want to see the cash flows and dashboards and all those things. So, and configurators, where you want to do the configurations and all those things that will be done. So for all that, there's the people that is actually the most important thing. And process, right? When we are actually trying to look at the process, as we came with our experience, we know that there is a different set of business rules and validations, and also different processes that's going to be set up for all that. So that's where we know that all those things, a kind of how that business rules and validations that comes into the picture. And so that's where where our iKapture product will actually accommodate all this kind of flexibilities that are coming based on a customer and all those things. And integration as a account payable automation process, we are very much into the or into the or any other documentation processing system, right? One of the key things is you should be able to get onto your accounting system, or probably your CRM, or into your expense management. So we have a seamless integrations, integration is going to be key part here. And we have developed the seamless integrations with the plug and play architecture, where we can try to have the integrations to be it might be SAP, Info, Oracle, Sage, QuickBooks, you name it, which we can do that integrations, for all the ERPs or accounting systems, whatever that we have it. And information, this information is going to be very important, for anybody. So we have a kind of 360-degree visibility of this particular the document validation informations, whatever we have it. We have the dashboards, and we can give you all the kind of reports, the flexible reports. And the best part is you can even have that conversational part. And these are being developed. The iKapture platform is completely developed on the state-of-art technologies with AWS, and with this serverless architecture, where it can have a lot of scalability as you go and provide as many as invoices that you can have it. You should be able to take care of that. And along with that, with AI, ML, NLP, and also the Gen AI, and it's directly integrates with your SSO. If you have your SSO, we can plug into your Active Directory and should be able to do authorize from your SSO and authenticate in your SSO and authorize from iKapture solution. And this is completely developed on the Java platform. So now let's we talked about people, process, and technology. So now I'm trying to bring in what all the capabilities and features of the iKapture. So the self-service portal, that what we have, the self-service troubleshooting. This is a portal, iKapture portal, what we have it, where the users, accounts payable users or executives or admins, they can go ahead and look at that particular reports of the invoices that are coming in, and they can even change if there are some changes that are required. Like, and they should be able to go and take care of this product. And this is completely self-service. Like we once with our onboarding, we should be able to take care of, and you should be able to go and see the end to end of this particular portal. And we talked about the document classification, like I mentioned, which is going to be one of the most important feature. And the other one, like, which I would like to definitely talk about, one is a configuration UI. And we know that there may be some kind of issues, like, or like, from the extraction perspective, which we can have it, like, be it what it might be. But we have the best one is, like, we have a configuration UI where you can try to crop it, or you can even add some synonyms, and that's going to be added to your learning model, like, your ML model. And tomorrow, when there are some invoices that's going to be coming in with the same set, or like in different sets, because of the learning that's been made, there will be a significant improvement of the metadata that was being extracted at that point of time, right? So that is the beauty of this particular configuration UI, and this is being given to the customers directly, and they should be able to manage it whenever they would like to have it. And retraining data, like, whenever we have that as the documents are coming in, we should be able to train that particular data as much as we can. And this particular training of the data will make it so much improvement, so that, like, we can have that the data to be there, and the improvements should be done. And the files from multiple sources, we are not just restricting the documents are coming from emails or something like that. You can send it through EDI or emails, or even from the perspective of S drives, or your Google Drive, anything, like, it's a secured FTP. Or you can even come on to our portal itself, our self-service portal itself, upload that particular ones, like, whatever that we have that kind of flexibility. These are all just a configuration which we can try to go and take care of that. And the other one, like, from the processes side, like, there is a master sync. Why this is an important, like, if you are actually, we have a capability to do the syncing of the masters, like, vendor master, supplier master, the GL codes, or like, even open POs, right? If we have all the data, coming to our portal, why this is going to be very, very important is, when the invoice is coming in, without even checking much onto the ERP itself, we can do all kind of validations, and, like, we can try to make it that, hey, this one, the PO is already being closed, or the amount is actually exceeded, or like the supplier name does not exist. So those things, which you should be able to take care of it there and there itself, like, at the portal itself. So that kind of flexibility is there. And fraud detection analysis, like, this is a kind of important thing, like, which we have actually developed. And fraud, like anything, the invoices that are coming in, based on the criteria and based on the patterns, like, whatever that we have found, we can put that one into a cautious mode bucket, like, which is actually fraud bucket, and tell that, hey, can you see and verify one more time before it gets to the ERP? Like, is this a fraud thing, like, that's actually happening? So that's what, like, what we have done it, and it's important one. And from the finance perspective, the SOC certification is going to be very, very, very critical. And that too, we are actually doing SOC 1 type 2 and SOC 2 type 2. These are all, like, the controls, like, which we have already been established, from the security, from the compliance purpose, and, like, and the data privacy perspective, and all those things, which we have already been taken care. This is a due, like I mentioned, we should be getting it in the month of September, but we are almost there. Like, within a couple of months, we should be getting this SOC certification. And the dashboards, role-wise dashboards, forecasting, and all those things, like, yes, we have a multiple roles, and based on the roles, like, that's going to be logging into our portal, we should be able to see that exactly what they want to see, and they cannot access, like, any other extra information what they do not want to see that. So it's all, again, a completely configurable system, like, what we have it, so that, like, we can just look at what exactly that we need. forecasting I talked to you guys, like, means earlier in the previous one, means this particular dashboards will bring up some kind of forecasting also, not only just getting the reports and all that stuff. On 360-degree visibility, this is where it's going to be very critical, important is you want to see from the data from the source to extraction to the, like a payment, right? Like, means until to the payment, how the status is and like where my, like what's going on, not only from the AP team, but also from the supplier and like, the vendors, like they would like to see that where that particular vendors, where that particular invoice status and everything is going to be there. So audit, like each and every change, like, whatever we are going to make it, for example, like, it's that, the step that's going to be coming in, who approved at what time, and like, if there are some changes, who changed, like at what time, and why this been changed, and all that audit things, like, is going to be part of this particular product, like, what we have tried to get it. And I talked to you on the plug and play interface for API integrations. So we have developed a set of complete set of APIs, not only just for kind of posting the data, like, into the ERP, but also like, we can able to sync the data back to the portals, like, so those particular APIs also developed. Why it's important is like, for the business to know it ahead of the time. And conversational bot, and then like, means by AIML and integrations, like, we have it on Oracle on-prem, Allen Cloud, and also like, from SAP and all those things, like which we have a very, very seamless integrations as end-to-end capabilities, like, which is going to be ready for us to have it. So this is very quickly, I would like to explain that how exactly it works. Like it may be a simple diagram, like which you are actually trying to see it here, but there is a lot of brainstorming sessions that went through that, like, whatever that we have it, especially when you are actually trying to talk about, this particular portion. Our iKapture engine is the most critical core component associated to this one. And we went through from regular expressions to cropping to adding synonyms and all those things. Now we came back into the mechanisms that, like, where we should be able to try to make sure extraction is almost guaranteed, that when there is a like a metadata that which we need to extract with at least, using your configuration UI and all those things. So that's what, like, the best thing, like, what we are bringing. So with all kind of combinations, like, with all the technologies that which we used it, and that's how, like, we have done that. And this one goes to the image, even though if it's a lower resolution image, like, what we are actually having it, we can actually increase the resolution to make sure this particular is going to be good to be extracted. See, like there may be, because of whatever that we have it, like it's going to be less resolution engine, like, what we have it. So, and once you have this particular data to be extracted, and these are all the APIs, like, which is going to be part of our iKapture solution, ready-made, like, that's going to be there. From the notification perspective, notification is going to be key. Hey, like I sent this particular invoice and this is been approved. Hey, can you approve this particular invoices? All those things is completely real-time notifications that will be sent. And apart from that, like, we can even send on weekly basis or daily basis a kind of a small report also to the stakeholders, like, the data that can be sent. And we have completely from two-way, three-way, non-PO, and all those things, like a complete, all those things is being developed as a complete plug and play architecture, like, which we have it. And if you are actually trying to look at this, like, this is an ERP for us, right? So this is an ERP. So when we have this particular ERP, so this particular ERP, like wherever you have this purchase invoice, and then, like, means we have the APIs and everything that's actually been developed here, and making sure that, like, this particular invoices has that APIs, and, like, where we can try to get that particular data back to the ERP. So we'll make sure, like, this is kind of seamless integrations that are actually being there. So we'll talk about, like, the key benefits. I think, most of it, like, which we have actually been talked about or, like, verified it. And one is, the iKapture solution, like the product that whatever we have is completely scalable because of the technologies we are using as a AWS highly scalable, means what it means is, I know that from the month end activities, right? From or the starting of the month, you will get a lot of invoices coming into the picture, and that becomes a little unmanageable. So the system, whatever we made it as so scalable that even if you're trying to drop 100 invoices will actually not go in parallel, means not go in sequential, but it goes in parallel and process it and takes care of it. So that's kind of a system what we have developed, and I know that that is going to be very, very critical and important, especially coming into the month end activities. And now the system is getting global. Means we work with almost 32 different languages which we support it, and there are a few more that are coming in and which are in being tested and ready to come, but which covers almost 80 to 90% of the languages in which we do support, right? So all those things we can take care of that. And we talked about the clear visibility, with the completely the audit and clear visibility and all those things. And the good part is, we have the pre-configured rules, means, for example, when there is an invoice that's coming in, and also there is a, when you are actually trying to post it, you can set that particular, hey, I want to do the validations of maybe the supplier name should match it, or my line items should match it to the total amount that's actually coming in, or my this one should be matched to the POs and all those things, right? We can set up that particular rules, what all the things that we would like to keep it, and that's completely configurable, and which you can try to configure it, and making sure that those things should be the pre-configured from the when you are actually trying to onboard it. And you can tell that I want to process 2-way, 3-way, and probably the non-POs, and all those things are also completely configurable based on your requirements. So we have the collaborative relationship with all the suppliers. We send that notifications on a real-time basis, and also they can even get into the system, to the iKapture portal, and look at that visibility of that where that particular invoice sets are going to be there. And this is actually completely cloud-based environment, and making sure this is completely secure and cloud-based, because this is very important for us, is because once you are actually leveraging a lot of AWS and the cloud-based systems, products and services also, so that we can go and take care of that one with a with the cloud-based system. And by using this AP automation with iKapture, we can definitely boost your and this is not been just telling by ourselves, our customers told us, it can boost up by almost to 90% of the speed and accuracy which you should be able to get it. And you can reduce the cost, the operating cost, having so many people trying to work on it, and they can definitely work on the other areas of it, but you can definitely try to make it, give this one to a tool which can leverage it and try to make it secured, and also able to leverage all these documents. So you should be able to reduce the cost by almost to 70%. And the other best part is the maximize early discounts, because these particular invoices are actually coming into your AP automations or into your ERP ahead of the time. You can introduce an early discounts, that, yes, I can make some payments, it's the early, and then then the discounts can be leveraged there also. So I would like to definitely talk, this is the one of the last topics which I would like to talk. One of the key things is a HR automation, right? Through the HR automation which we do have it. So we know that there is a lot of paperwork, that's going to be there, right? From the new hires, and also just think about W4s, I9s, and driving licenses, and the previous experiences and all those things, right? And as a HR person, all those data, right now, that whatever that you have it, you have to enter that particular data manually and store it in your system. But using the digitized solutions, I know from the iKapture product perspective, right now, whatever that I mentioned in my previous steps and all those things, I kind of focused a little more on the account payable automation, right? So that's why I have not been listed out the account payable automation, and we might have been focusing on that particular one. But iCapture product is not just kind of an invoice processing, but it can leverage into a lot more documents, like receipts and ID cards, and also like any claims that whatever we have it, contracts and all those things also. That's where all these digital the use cases that which we are going to get in. So one of the key things is HR automation. And as I was talking about the I9's W4, with the iCapture solution, we should be able to extract that particular data and store it into your HR system and directly, and to make sure that you don't need to go and try to do that manually. That's going to speed up a lot of time consuming process, for HR admin. They will still love it. And the second one is expense management. So even with a company like us also, we have a lot of consultants which are working, and where they have actually trying to get all the receipts, whatever they do have it, right? So those things, you can automate it. Once that particular expense, all these receipts that are coming through your email to the finance guy, they don't need to enter that particular data into your account, maybe Coupa or your expense management system for all the reimbursement purpose. You can take care of that by making sure that you extract that particular data automatically and tell that from which supplier, from which supplier you are actually able to get, how much it is and what time, and all those things which you should be able to get it, and you should be able to store that one, and becomes much more easy to document all that expenses that are coming in. And the most other important thing, whatever that we have, it is for sure is insurance, right? Whether you are actually setting up the new claims, the insurance claims that are coming in, and specialists in the insurance very much rely on this heavy data that whatever that's coming in the claims. You have to have a lot of data, a lot of data entry and all those things. So from the claims perspective and reimbursement perspective, and that need to be sent to some other documents and all to the providers and all those things. Those things which you should be able to take care of that, through the insurance forms and through the document, digitizing the documents. And that will be a huge important, because it's not only just for a sake of you're actually trying to have that particular data enter manually, but it should be getting into where you should be able to go ahead and take care of that from the compliance purpose and privacy and all those things, and then from the time and productivity purpose also. And let's talk about the healthcare, right? The healthcare, digitizing the medical records. This is a kind of thing which we have actually developed out to the healthcare industry, and where you have a lot of prescriptions that are coming in, and where are the medical records that should be there, and all those things, and test results that are coming in. And for all that, right now, if you don't use the digitizing the documents, you should be able to go and enter that one manually, and which is again a time consuming process, and all those things should be able to go and digitize that particular document very easily. The last one, it's a contract management, but is very, very, very critical. Means it's not just related to the contracts, or it can be even increased to the agreements, right? And the most important thing is, some of them they give pages and pages of documents of the contracts, and again using your NLP technologies, and then using Gen AI, you should be able to extract the data the relevant metadata from the contracts without just passing that particular data to the ML model, and where we should be able to extract that data with a seamless, and then get that metadata, which becomes a very fast way of trying to get it. Not only that one, when you are actually getting that right, you can even provide some kind of an insights of a notifications and all those things, which you should be able to go ahead and take care of that. So those are all kind of very, very important factors, what we have it. So these are all kind of the 5 real world use cases, in which we would like to definitely talk about it. And these are all one thing, what we want to make sure is this particular contract management, so like, and HR automation, expense management. We have not talked like, from the iKapture, but we do have the capability of taking care of all those things also with a, when there is a need and requirement is there from the customer. So any questions or anything like that, more than happy to address it. So hopefully we are good now. I think, means I'll give maybe around 20 minutes back with all the with everything that's been covered. Yeah. Hey, I see that Subramaniam.
Yep. Just.
There
Yep.
was a. You have a question, Subramaniam?
He can share question over the chat.
Yeah. So that leaves that, like, means, yeah, probably yes, we are good to go. I think thanks everyone, like, for attending this session, and like, we will get the recording soon. And thank you again for all your time. Bye bye.